Pokemon champions the world over were called together in the land of Passio to investigate the Leon phenomenon, a scientific anomaly following a rift that had opened in the once peaceful region. Champion trainers such as Red, Ethan, May, Dawn, Hilda, Callum, Gloria, and many more all showed up with their ace starter Pokemon, fully evolved in preparation for any oncoming battles. When they had arrived, a giant gaping hole was ripped in the sky, followed by the cracking of thunder, and then darkness. Pouring out from another world were creatures foreign to them. Animals, no doubt, less intimidating than legendary Pokemon, but the sheer number of them was what scared the trainers at hand.
Daftest little Leo I've ever seen.
Hundreds, thousands, soon to be 1 billion lions stood in their way. Without hesitation, they all let out their Pokemon and the battle commenced. Dividing their Pokemon into groups based on their primary type, given how they didn't want any of them to be hit in the crossfire by a stray super effective move, 3 groups of grass, fire, and water Pokemon were now fighting off 1 billion lions. Brendan nudged May on the shoulder. "The grass types can take out the most here, just watch." Nate overheard. "Seriously? Our water types will flush them all out." Serena and Lyra shook their heads. "This is no time for games, you two." Red just looked at the group, holding the volcano badge representing fire. With the Pokemon world at stake, can our heroes band together and take on the Lion Uprising? And which type of starter Pokemon will be able to faint the most lions at the end of this all? Also faint, not kill, because Galaxy Video does not condone the mistreatment of lions or animal cruelty in any way, shape, or form, nor does this represent the debaters.
This question has existed for as long as it's gonna take me to record my lines. Looks like we haven't met before. If you don't know me, the name's Huntsman. Huntsman DL, Huntsman Draconia, the Hunter Drake. I've heard it all. Thanks a lot, Larry. I've left comments a few times on this show, and now it's finally my turn to do the talking for once. And if you couldn't tell, I'm debating for the grass starters. I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way since it's the most common point to bring up for this team. Torterra naturally learns the move Earthquake, one of the toughest AoE attacks in all of Pokemon, and really a must-have for any team since it's so strong. It's a big advantage to have, even with how little it can be used in the long run. But just like Danny Phantom's Ghostly Wail or Goku's Spirit Bomb, even if something can't be used often, the damage done by using it is well worth it. Earthquake is going to take out so many lions that its low usage is going to be well spent, easily putting the grass starters ahead of the others from the get-go. It's not like the move can miss either. Lions aren't exactly known to be naturally airborne, not to mention how Torterra's Rock Climb literally creates large rock formations on the battlefield. Lions will get killed by the earth below their feet in no time. Anyway, enough of the land turtle carrying the team, onwards to the others. And just to get them out of the way, I'll discuss my least favorite one, Chestnut. Spiky shield protects them from damage and damages anyone who touches it. Lions can't hurt them and die in the process. It has a lot of hard-hitting moves, including Royale. It's just gonna bowl through them like lion-shaped bowling pins. Of course. Moving on. On to something more valuable and important, Razor Leaf. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, it's a basic grass-type move you can learn really early on. But guess what? It hits multiple targets and can be used 25 times. Guess which members of the grass squad can learn it? Venusaur, Meganium, Torterra, Decidueye, and Rillaboom. That's 5 out of 8. They all have one move that not only hits multiple targets but can be used a ton of times and does damage to many lions with ease. The team is full of attacks like this, such as Venusaur with Petal Blizzard and Rillaboom with Boom Burst. Both are powerful attacks that can rack up kills quickly, putting the grass team ahead of the others. Grass starters also always tend to have attacks that inflict status elements to their opponents. Moves like Poison Powder, Stun Spore, and Sleep Powder will completely immobilize their opponents and passively kill them. Spread a big cloud of it around and it'll do the work for them while they focus on taking out other lions manually. Leech Seed also works similarly, but replenishes the user's health at the same time. Other moves do that directly, like Absorb, Mega Drain, and Giga Drain, not to mention Synthesis will replenish themselves even more. The grass types will simply be able to outlast the other Pokemon in stamina, constantly using lifesteal moves to take out their enemies and keep themselves going. Just going over some other minor details, Venusaur and Meganium naturally emit aromas that calm aggravated foes down. Just existing on the battlefield means they'll passively make the enemy lions not want to fight back, meaning they're open to fatal attacks constantly. Sceptile can make up for the speed deficiency on the team with its natural agility. In fact, it has the highest base speed of all starter Pokemon. Okay, yes, Cinderace comes mighty close to it, and Inteleon matches Sceptile's speed on the dot. But with Megas involved, Mega Sceptile has it covered and then some. Sceptile can chase down any escaping felines, getting the majority of singular kills. Might not make as much of a difference as spamming hundreds of Razor Leaves, but every little bit counts. It'll be slicing through lions faster than Blaziken can be turned into Kentucky Fried Chicken. Serperior can stop enemies in their tracks just by looking at them with its noble eyes. It doesn't even learn Glare to paralyze them, but in this case it basically doesn't even need to. Decidueye, on top of being a ghost type, which obviously the lions can't even touch, likely has the single greatest range in this Royale, launching arrows that can one-shot any lion at virtually any distance with deadly precision. It may have a problem if it gets surprised or sneak attacked, but seeing as there are much heavier hitters out in the front lines protecting it, I don't see any reason Decidueye would be in a vulnerable position to begin with. Finally, the single best point I can bring to the table, Rillaboom. Why is Rillaboom so important, you ask? I'm glad you're curious. You see, this leafy monkey naturally learns the move that multiplies grass-type attack power by 50% and passively heals all that are affected. That's right, grassy terrain. It lasts a while and will greatly impact how many kills the grass team can get. And yes, it does make a negative impact on the damage Torterra's Earthquake does. I won't try to pretend that it won't. On the off chance Rillaboom's ability is its hidden ability, Grassy Surge, it'll activate immediately. So right off the bat, a storm of Razor Leaf is going to wipe out entire waves of lions with ease. And nothing's stopping Rillaboom from reusing grassy terrain anyways. It lasts 5 turns in game, don't exactly know how that translates into a real world scenario. But either way, it's temporary and incredibly useful. And whenever it runs out, Rillaboom doesn't need to immediately activate it, so Torterra can use that window to sweep a bunch of enemies with Earthquake. Timing will be difficult, but as I said, no matter how few times it's used, any Earthquake is gonna deal major damage and get a lot of kills. I think the Fire and Water starters lack the AoE damage to win this. Sure, 2 of the Water starters can naturally learn Rain Dance and boost their attack that way, but you can't use 2 at the same time. Only 1 Rain Dance can be active, meaning they can't double their buffs. And none of the fire types have used Sunny Day, at least to my knowledge, so no buffs to be had there either. The only AoE attacks for fire starters to use are Lava Plume, Eruption, and Heat Wave, 2 of which are exclusive to Typhlosion. Sure, they're great attacks, but Eruption can only be used 5 times and Lava Plume 15. They can't use them all that much, meaning they won't be making that much of a dent in the lion's numbers. The water starters have Sparkling Aria, Surf, and Muddy Water. Surf certainly is strong, but not in comparison to 5 grassy terrain and stab damage boosted Razor Leaves. 4 water starters have been shown to use Surf canonically, meaning at maximum maybe about 60 Surfs. Then of course we have 125 Razor Leaves. How do you like them apples? The green team will take the win and kick some grass. Biff and Brandon can try as they may to say otherwise, but at the end of the day, even they'll have to leave the darkness of their rooms and touch grass. I'm taking this W, and I'm feeling fine. Alright Biff, I'll leave what's next to you.
I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to debate for my favourite Pokemon on Galaxy Grudge match, but here we are. Hey everyone, I'm Biff. I've debated for fire users before, I've debated for a series with a not so great fanbase, and now I'm debating for 2 of those in one. I'll be arguing for why the fire-type starters and the Red Hot Flames will turn most of the lions into a pile of ash. The biggest advantage on my side is speed. The fire types are, on average, the starters with the highest base speed. The water types have Greninja and Inteleon, who are the overall 2 fastest, and the grass types have Sceptile and Serperior, who can outpace most of the fire types. But outside of Emboar and Incineroar, this entire team is full of speed demons. Charizard, Typhlosion, Infernape, Delphox, and Cinderace all have a base speed over 100. Blaziken doesn't, for some reason, but this can be made up for with its hidden ability, Speed Boost. And if you want to argue that that's not standard for Blaziken to have Speed Boost over Blaze, that wouldn't matter since it gets Speed Boost upon Mega Evolving anyway. Also, it can jump high enough to clear a 30-story building even in base form. Not only is that an indicator of how powerful its legs are for kicking lions into a red puddle, it also gives it great mobility, able to keep in the air to rain fire down on the lions while staying out of harm's way itself. No lion is safe, regardless of how big their ladder is. Of course, it would have to continuously come back down to jump back up again, but Blaziken isn't the only fire starter with good aerial coverage. My side also has Charizard, who should be able to stay way out of reach of the lions for as long as it needs to, with its wings being able to carry it up to 4,600 feet in the air. And much like Blaziken, it can Mega Evolve. Mega Charizard X isn't really much of a game changer here since it was already powerful enough to take out swarms of lions in base form, but Mega Charizard Y has the ability Drought. This causes Sun to radiate even more intense heat, buffing the fire attacks of everyone on the field while also nerfing the water types. Yes, many of the water starters can use Rain Dance to reverse the effect, but given that the grass types will also want intense sun out to avoid the charge times for moves like Solar Beam, the water types will have to be fending off both other teams at the same time. Next is Typhlosion, one of my favourites who unfortunately got neutered in the switch from sprites to 3D models. Typhlosion's going to be a pretty big player here, essentially being completely immune to the lions. It can create heat shimmers to hide itself and make itself so hot that anything that touches it combusts. So the lions likely just straight up won't be able to see it for most of the fight, and those that are somehow able to get close will die instantly on contact. As for AoE, it can rub its fur together to create huge explosions, and that's not a standard Pokemon move, so it doesn't need to worry about running out of PP for it. Blaziken also doesn't need to worry about running out of PP, since even if it does, it still knows martial arts according to the Pokedex, so it can still throw down hand to hand, or I guess claw to claw once all its fire moves are exhausted. Infernape is stated by the Pokedex to be beaten by none in terms of quickness. So if you just ignore all the starters with a higher base speed than it, it is literally the fastest Pokemon on the field. In all seriousness though, it has moves like Flame Charge and Mach Punch to make sure it's always hitting individual lions faster than anyone else on the other teams. Acrobatics can take advantage of its great agility, and Double Team can lower the already near zero chances of even taking a single hit from any of the lions. Emboar cares deeply about its friends, which of course means it's going to throw itself into the front lines and make itself the main target for the lions. They hunt pigs after all, that's just basic food chain theory. This might seem like a detriment since it's not as tanky as its appearance would make it out to be, but not only is the idea of the lions damaging anyone here not really on the table given what Pokemon can survive, even if they could pose a physical threat, it wouldn't matter to Emboar, since its insanely high physical attack stat is going to let it barrel through swarms of lions with ease. And it'll do so especially quickly, since Flame Charge is going to make it even faster as it goes along. The Pokedex also says it's fast. See, right there. Fast and powerful fighting moves, as reflected by its off-the-chart speed stat. This is my win con, definitely. Delphox is a psychic type, which helps the team much more than just giving them extra type coverage. By gazing into the flame on its branch, it can see into the future. That means on the off chance that anyone's about to take a nasty hit, Delphox can see into the future and prevent that before it even happens. But like I said before, the lions aren't strong enough to damage any of the Pokemon, so I guess that means its psychic power's useless. Or at least it would be if it couldn't also use it offensively. Its psychic power can be used to create fiery vortexes that reach temperatures above 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Or, you know, over 2,500 degrees Celsius if you don't want to be wrong. This vortex is able to sweep foes into it, meaning Delphox can take out a ton of lions with a move that isn't burdened by limited PP. Since this is something it can do naturally, like with the explosions that Typhlosion can create, Delphox also naturally learns Sunny Day. So even if these were wild Pokemon, Mega Charizard Y's Drought got undone and the grass team didn't feel like lending a hand, my team does have a way to fend off Rain Dance. Incineroar's navel can emit flames almost as hot as 2,000 degrees Celsius in really violent battles where it doesn't have to hold back. Though this probably wouldn't be one of those, given how it finds battling weaker opponents boring, and it sometimes disobeys its trainer, but well, you've seen in Smash that Incineroar can make really massive explosions, but that's with a single-use Z move. Look, they can't all be winners, okay? And closing things out for the individual mons is Cinderace. Not one I expected to be the most useful initially, but it being one of the faster members of the team is certainly going to be pretty helpful in racking up kills the fastest, especially with moves like Flame Charge, Agility, and Quick Attack to help it move at even more blinding speeds. And it can turn things even as small as pebbles into flaming soccer balls, or footballs if you again do not want to be objectively incorrect. So it can use the environment better than anyone else in a way that's also not limited by PP. That's what each of them bring to the table individually, but now for the more general advantages. Like I said before, the fire starters are on average the fastest. Sure, the others tend to be more bulky, but in a scenario where the waves of enemies they're fighting won't even be able to put a dent in them, it doesn't matter how much more tanky they are. The same can be said for their attacking potency, since everyone on the field can tear through swarms of lions with ease. So really, speed and area of effect are going to be the most crucial in terms of getting their numbers as high as possible, and my guys have AoE attacks to spare. If anything, the tanks on the other teams are going to be more dead weight, since they're typically built to be really slow to make up for their bulk, which is not going to help them too much. Yeah, all the water mons have Surf, and a select few on the other teams can learn Earthquake, but there are generally more options for fire type AoE moves that'll take way longer to burn through the PP for. From Heat Wave to Eruption to Heat Crash to Flame Burst, pretty much all of them have access to at least one of these moves, and some like Typhlosion and Delphox can naturally create massive AoE attacks that don't have a PP limit. The grass types also have a big reliance on status moves for a few of their players, but when trying to increase your kill count as quickly as possible, using moves that immobilize or slowly deal chip damage to targets you can already one-shot won't be too helpful. This isn't a problem for the more recent additions to their lineups, but it will really hamper the effectiveness of Venusaur and Meganium in particular. The fire types also have much better terrain control. See, there's a good chance they'll end up setting parts of the ground on fire, and unlike covering the ground with grass or water, fire can still actively add to their kill counts by continuing to spread and engulf the lions, as well as limiting their movements to keep them in more easy to manage groups. With all this speed and literal firepower on my side, the fire types are going to blaze through the competition and come out on top in the end. If the other debaters can't handle the heat, they should probably give up now and get out of the kitchen, but I'll still give Brandon a chance to defend his side. Over to you.
So you've chosen to rep the water type starters. Why yes, I think I have, Professor. I'm Brandon. My policy is an all-out offensive with water type Pokemon. There's something about you two, a difference in your demeanor. My Pokemon were toughened up by stormy white waters. You've brought up some strong points for the grass and fire starters, but no matter. You now get to battle with the best among the three of us. When the ocean's your home, you don't worry about things like that. It's sink or swim, and by the end of this all, you two will be floundering in the water and be in need of saving. It's only a matter of time before we wash you out to sea, beyond the horizon. Let's address some of the strengths of the other teams first, before ultimately going into why I think the ocean's gray waves will see life beyond the shore. That wasn't a Pokemon reference. While sure, the grass-type team perhaps has one or two good Pokemon for keeping them in the long game with their self-healing, and the fire-type team may have one or two good Pokemon for an early game burst of kills. I think the water-type team has the best options when it comes to outright endurance, defense, AoE, and firepower. Or water power. Don't let the opinions of the average man sway you. Look at Blastoise for example. Their twin cannons can fire hydro pumps like there's no tomorrow, at a range of 160 feet apiece no less. When you're severely outnumbered, fighting from a long range is crucial to both keep your resources strong and keep your opponents at bay. Most of the grass and especially fire type teams get up close and in your face. Not to say the water team doesn't do that with some of their physically offensive attackers, but they do so comparatively less. While I guess the other teams could be firing off solar beams or fire blasts or whatever, most of the water type team is either built for long range combat or fight with the intent of not getting hit. Inteleon is literally a sniper. While Gigantamax forms aren't included here as they require specific energy spots found exclusively in Galar, its Gmax form shows its primary strategies to shoot things from a concealed area with height and leverage above them, far distances away, firing off snipe shots with little to no danger. The grass types have Decidueye, sure, but what's a bow and arrow compared to a gun? An individual lion isn't enough to hurt anyone on the field, but chip damage or fatigue will eventually add up after dealing with lions in the thousandths place. Keeping yourself hidden is crucial, and go figure, we have Greninja, the stealthiest mon on our side. Greninja can fire off multiple water shurikens while creating clones of itself, vanishing around the field, or just create a substitute doll to take any and all damage for it. Even a quarter of Greninja's health means it'll take lions forever to even scratch it. Unlike the other Pokemon, who won't take noticeable damage, they still are physically going to be agitated by the lions. Greninja's just free to slice them all away, Naruto style, without any fatigue. And those are two of the frailest Pokemon on the field. Everyone else on Blue Team is naturally defensive, with Feraligatr being covered in sharp scales, Swampert having the highest defensive stat, especially if it voids out and Mega Evolves, and Polion being made of metal, and Samurott being covered in armor. I'll touch on each of their individual strengths more in depth in a bit. Another huge advantage the water starters have is how they can play around with the battlefield. Being the champion trainer's aces, it's more than likely that most of them have been taught the HM for Surf, in order to traverse the region. Even without assuming this, Blastoise does know Surf in the Champion Red fight, as well as Rain Dance, which will get real annoying for fire types. Look at Charizard, who can barely handle standing out in the rain. Over time, the battlefield is going to be more akin to a pool, then a lake, then a flash flood. A common way other animals like hippos or crocodiles take down lions in real life is by taking advantage of their inability to swim. Saying all this out loud is kind of fucking dark. I'm sorry, but I will continue. Let's discuss specific strengths of all the water type starters. Blastoise is mentioned prior as a tank in every sense of the word. When he Mega Evolves, it gains the ability Mega Launcher, powering up its cannon attacks to a max octave. Its Synergy Burst can create a massive energy laser that'd make a Dragon Ball Z character blush, as well as fire Ice Beams and Dragon Pulses. I think this type of damage more than outclasses anyone on the field. Torterra can create earthquakes that can tear the ground asunder, but this move would have to be used more sparingly than you may think, as despite the competition, this is a team effort, and Earthquake is super effective against fire types. You could argue the same for water, but I already said that they have the precision to do massive damage while not hurting their allies. In the anime, Earthquake can just be centralized to span a stadium or whatever, but then it won't be doing as much damage as Mega Blastoise or any of the surfing Pokemon. We've got the superior turtle at sea. Feraligatr admittedly is far from my favorite here, but the Pokedex says just opening its maw is enough to strike fear into an enemy. Its mobility is stunted on land, making it prefer to fight on all fours, despite what every in-game depiction of the character shows. But again, once the terrain is in their favor, you have an alligator with enough biting strength to chew through stone, metal, and lions like gum. Grassy terrain and presumably Mega Charizard Wise Drought could possibly sway the environment in their favor, but I doubt it's going to take more than one shot to do a lion in. When we have Pokemon like Swampert with moves like Muddy Water, it's strong enough to carry boulders and even lug around a giant ship without Mega Evolving, in which it becomes even stronger and can see through murky water. Can I just say right, I love Swampert. Best boy. The main point here is Muddy Water is an alternative to Surf, but I'll take any opportunity to talk about my boy Mudkip. Now imagine this. Empoleon, a metal penguin whose face looks like a trident, ramming into you at top speed sliding on ice. Priority is something we haven't talked much about yet, and aside from some Pokemon learning Quick Attack very early on, which may or may not have been forgotten by all the experienced trainers, Empoleon learns Aqua Jet, and it's covered in, or made of metal. It's going to be taking out everything left and right, skewering them. Samurott serves a very similar purpose too, being covered in Scalchop armor, and having a giant pike that can spear through lions. But okay, all this power is great and all. Exhausting energy left and right to cast away all opposed. Having support options can also be of use, right? Well, I already mentioned how Greninja's Substitute is an absolute wall of defense, but let's say the other starters accidentally break it, or they accidentally get burned by the fire starters. Primarina has Sparkling Aria to cure that, has even more AoE, as well as Sing to lull the lions to sleep. And in the Pokemon anime, Sing is actually much more effective than Sleep Powder. But back to the frog, with actual defensive options like Mat Block and the aforementioned Substitute, Greninja simply outclasses the other super fast Sceptile and Cinderace. Inteleon is my last starter, but I'll mention again its sniper-like traits practically make it a Pokemon that will thrive in terms of not getting hit. Leaves and Fire are good and all, but not Douse in the Rain where water types are going to excel. Speed will lend to some early on advantages, but as we've all learned from Ruby vs Konosuba, stamina is what's going to matter in the long run. Against thousands of lions, no matter how durable they are, fatigue is going to come into play, and I've already displayed how the water types have the superior AoE and defenses. Healing moves won't matter when there are trainers actively in the backlines patching their Pokemon up. These aren't wild animals, but when the grass types are exhausting their own stamina to heal their wounds, and the fire types are going to be running back and forth to their trainers in the battlefield, this will only leave ample time for the water types to decorate the battlefield in a bed of water and gain the terrain advantage over the lions. I just think as a team the water types gel together the best. You two overcame that difficult situation by working as one with your Pokemon. Ultimately though, to overcome the water types would be to outpace their defenses, range, team synergy, and the very oceans surrounding us. Biff, you should know of all people, the ocean is our friend. And come on, we're 60% made of water. But enough prelude, let's battle. And just like that, we are now responsible for the mass extinction of thousands of lions and the cancellation of Galaxy Video. That's especially impressive for you, Huntsman, with it being your first episode and all.
Gee, it's almost like it's in the name.
Regardless, we hope you all enjoyed this episode, which has made for a few firsts on Galaxy Grudge Match. We got the first 3-person episode, first same series fight,
and the millionth Biff Weed L.
Okay, Mr. Yo, Fall Guys is really funny, fuck you.
Touch grass, Mr. Amogus. For the audience at home, though, make sure to leave a comment backing up which group of starters you think will be king. And if you hate the sound of my voice, I have plenty of content without it on my own channel, which will hopefully be located below.
Biff and I's social medias will be in the description as well, per usual, unfortunately.
We'll catch you all next time for part 2.